Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the semi-annual Mike Angelo Dev YouTube video. This is going to be a really quick one that's going to be very bare bones, only because I noticed, or rather I realized I never uploaded a part 2 to my developing a horror roguelite game, Roguelite. And so what it comes down to is I deleted all the footage of what I did have. I was making a devlog and I have remnants of it. Pretty much the only remnants I have are this really shitty quality video on Facebook. I don't know why I did not upload this video in standard definition, but that's just Facebook for you. And then I have some screenshots as well, and the Adobe file. Anyways, I don't have any of the footage. I have the script and a little bit of the mic recording. Don't know why I deleted it. I'm better about it now, about not deleting footage. Anyways, I wanted to show what stuff I did since the first devlog, if anybody even remembers or cares, or anybody from that devlog is coming here, because I'm really proud of it, and it took me a long time to do it, and it's nowhere near done, and I still come back to this project occasionally, but I'm kind of burnt out of game dev. So the big things that I talked about in the end of the video were furnishing the rooms and adding props, stuff like that. And I wanted to do all of it procedurally. I could have gone the prefab route where each room has prefabs I could instantiate that are set up props. A lot of games do that. Or I could have gone with prefab rooms and with some procedural generation thrown in there. Spelunky does that. I think Enter the Gungeon does that too, but I don't know. I didn't want to do that. I think Binding of Isaac also does it. Anyways, didn't want to do that. I want to do everything procedurally. So everything you're seeing here is completely procedural. None of this is added beforehand. All of this is generated at runtime. And I'm going to go over the basics of how it works. First, I'm going to run through what I, like the snippets I do have, the remnants. Basically, I very luckily took some development screenshots, and I bet I even have more in my old Discord server with my brothers. I have to find them. They're pretty cool, the screenshots that I took. So before we get into this, we're just going to go over the remnant. So there's a lot of pictures in here. What matters is these few ones. So here's one of the screenshots. Basically, what you're looking at is one of the rooms, obviously, then the doors. And all of these dots are basically parts on the grid. And I think this is one of the first things I did. Basically, I'm creating I don't know if I was creating a point necessarily, but I was marking each point on the grid. Blue ones are the walls, which is pretty obvious. And the yellow ones are, quote unquote, inside the room. So what's not obstructed. I don't know what screenshot's next. We can come back to this one because that one's a little further on. Hey, this is from the first video. Come on, Windows. So the next thing I did was basically determine, what is the right word I'm looking for? Calculate, estimate the different, you could call them areas of the room, I guess. So blue is the complete outside, red is slightly inside, and then green is the total center. And these change depending on the size of the room, and there's some minimum and maximum sizes that like these areas can be, but this red section could be 2 or 3 wide. The green one could be smaller. It just all depends. But this is just for, all of this is a precursor to creating the system that would place props, because I needed a way to figure out where props could go. And from that, create directions and all that. So certain props can only go in the middle of the room or in this general area. Certain props can only go on the outskirts of the room or in the center or the complete outside. You'll see that I have some stuff, and you'll see in Unity what I actually did do. But this was all just trial and error, trying to figure it out. I did all of this from scratch. There are a few videos I watched of some different procedural generation stuff. Actually, a lot of them were in Unity, of different games and companies that built stuff like this to procedurally furnish rooms. But a lot of them were not grid-based, and a lot of them were just completely different to what I wanted. So everything you're seeing is basically just from scratch, which is why I'm pretty proud of it. So the next one is, grid definitions. Grid directions. Oh my God, Windows, come on. So this is when I went through and I basically added, you could call them normals almost, or I guess vectors for each tile in the room. And this would determine what ways props could face if they're on them. So all of the walls can't point outside, they can only point inside. This took a while, figuring out all the math, especially to get it to work procedurally, because none of it's hard-coded, you could say. It figures it all out, because all of these, like the different cardinal directions and based on the hallways and the rooms, because according to the grid, This one could face this way because there's another slot here, but it's not part of the room. And there's also a wall, so it can't face the way. So it took a long time getting this to work procedurally. Next, do I have, here we go. So then this might have been the first one I did. Basically, oh yeah, it was the first one I did. Basically determining the density of the positions where all the props could spawn in the rooms. So originally, I think I had this half of the size or half the density. So every other dot was included and the ones in between weren't. So it was a lot less dense, which I didn't like. So I eventually moved to this. And yeah, actually, it's here. It's half as dense, and it's just not enough space for props. It's pretty much the size of one tile, and it just was not enough. Is there anything else in here? Not really. Okay, so then we go to go to this one actually. This is something I did before I started all that. Basically, added some other basic stuff. This screenshot is actually in the remnant of a video that I have of the second devlog. Basically, this is just some ambient stuff. There's some ambient stuff that'll play randomly. And it looks like actually this is the ambience for the ship itself, which can change dynamically because each ship has a different quote-unquote profile, which is why this picture is called derelict profile. And I think I had 3 different types just for testing. None of them were really that different because the levels weren't done yet. The whole system wasn't done yet. But they could all have their own different ambient sound, the volume. All this could change depending on what kind of ship it was, basically. So maybe you have like a mining ship, and it's really big and has a really echoey ambience or something, or really industrial ambience. Or maybe you have one of my ideas was like a yacht, but in space. I don't know, you call it like a cruise ship, basically, but it flies around. There's probably a science fiction name for that. But you could have that. It could have a really calming ambience and be huge. Stuff like that. So this just applies to any kind of ship you want to make. So next we can go to figuring out. So at this point, I already figured out how to place the props. And I had screenshots. I don't know where they are. I literally had screenshots of me placing the props. There must not be in this folder. I'm not sure. But this was after I figured out how to place props. And I'll show you all that inside of Unity. But next, I moved on to allowing certain props, or just any prop I want, basically. In this case, it was countertops and some tables that I had and some shelves, I think. I don't remember. Defining what areas items could spawn in. So I think these are all manually placed, if I remember correctly. They're just game objects that are scaled differently. And the size of the area is determined by the scale of the game object. Basically, any items can spawn inside of this, anywhere inside of these green areas on any of these. And I think different ones had different kinds of items that could spawn there, like different classes or categories of items. So like the bigger ones would usually spawn bigger items, smaller ones couldn't spawn bigger items, stuff like that. I thought I had more screenshots of this too, but I don't. So next we get to, well, there's not really a good place to go. I guess this is the next place to go. You kind of see the first iteration of prop spawning here. God, this video is such low quality. I wish it was higher. So you kind of see just from this screenshot, the props are based in the corners. I have these random, what are these called? I don't know, like containers, containment units, jars, I don't know. And some cabinets and cupboards and stuff placed around randomly, and they're facing the right direction. So ones on the outside are facing inwards and they can't face outwards. But they could face the other directions if the prop allowed it. Because each prop has a set of cardinal directions that it can face relative to where it's placed. That way I'm not dealing with it each direction like individually on like a world axis or in a world space. Anyways, and each prop has, maybe you'll see it. Actually, you can. This says props right here, _props. And these are all the different props. And there's a prefab for each prop. And then there's also a scriptable object, which contains everything about the prop. So the size of the prop, basically, how many can spawn on each level maximum, what kind of rotations it can have, what cardinal directions, what offset rotations to give some variation, stuff like that. So we can play this video here. I walk out of the room and I go back in for some atmosphere, some dramatic effect. You can just see Those props have some sound effects and stuff, nothing too special. But yeah, that's all this video is. This was very early on in the process. Then we get to these ones where I had developed the lighting a little more and added some more props and some more textures, I believe. I found out in this setup with these kind of rooms, cube maps look really good, or reflection probes really, because each room has a reflection probe placed in it. And then I bake it at runtime when the level is generated, like at the end. Once all the props are made, the lights are made, makes it look really good for what the game is. And this is like the next version of it. I changed some of the lighting. For certain rooms, I had it so it can't spawn overhead lights. So like in the previous version, it did spawn an overhead light, which was hard-coded into all of the rooms, just for the sake of testing, because I didn't have any lighting system yet. But I made it so certain rooms had the option to not spawn lights, because in this case, like the lab, these plants and these guys emit a ton of light, so they don't need it. And the cube maps also give off a lot of fake light and make it look brighter than it actually is. So I think that brings us to today. Well, here's another screenshot, because it looked really cool. And it does look really cool. I'm very happy with how these visuals turned out, with how simple they are. Brings us to today, where we are inside of the current project, and you can kind of see all the same stuff, but a lot more developed. So instead of dots, these are little quads now, and you can see the outskirts, you can see the middle, and then the center. Doorways are marked, so nothing can be placed in front of doors. And if you look in any of these rooms that have props, there's props right next to the doors, but they can't be in front of it. And I think in this version, there's only 2 rooms. There's a med bay, or like a laboratory, and there's a storage room that has different shelves and crates and stuff. So before I go in and show you and walk around, I kind of wanted to go over how this stuff works. So let me see if I remember. It's been a while since I've been in here. So again, yeah, we have the different kind of derelict. So this is the one derelict I had, derelict spacecraft. 3 different room types: cockpit, storage, and lab. The storage and cockpit, they vary a little bit, but they're basically the exact same. I do know the cockpit only spawns on the left or right end as one of the last rooms, and there can only be one of them, and the storage can be any amount anywhere. Basically to shape the room so there's only one cockpit and it's all the way in one of the ends to insinuate the ship is facing that way. There's a lot of stuff that I did behind the scenes that I don't remember a lot of it. It's been a while. So this is all pretty not worth talking about. So we can go into the rooms and the props. So basically how this works is there's a room type and then a room subtype. And the room type is, you can kind of see here, how it creates the room definition. So for example, I believe the cockpits are on edge, no corner, which basically means it can be on any of the edges. I think the cockpit, it was the left or the right again, but it couldn't be on any of the corners, it had to be in the center somewhere. So this just defines where the room can be created in the level, how big the room is, and this isn't like a number definition. There is a number definition, but this is more so for, I think, for props or just general map generation. We have the generalized type, which is, these are hard-coded because they basically would determine what happens on like a grand level. So let's just say, for example, if a certain enemy only spawned in a lab, but there were 20 kinds of labs in the game, the room would have a generalized type of lab, and that would tell the game, hey, these different rooms are 5 different types of labs, but they're all a lab, so the enemy can spawn there. And we have the room label, size definition, the same stuff basically. And the room subtype. So basically this is, so these subtypes would be the 20 different labs. So this is the main lab, but we could have 20 different subtypes underneath, which a subtype basically defines everything about the room. So the generalized type, which is the same thing as before, but if in case you want to change it, whether or not it spawned the hard-coded light, materials, what kind of props it spawns, all that. And I have some of them here you can see. And the props actually too are very complicated, but also pretty simplified. They're just detailed. I guess complex is the right word. So we have the different props. This is not very optimized or very well refactored. I didn't really go through and do a lot of it. I kind of just got it working and then moved on. So we have different loot tables and basically what the prop is. And each prop is a scriptable object that has all sorts of information about it. And you can pause and look at these if you want. A lot of them are self-explanatory. And then they have the prefabs also, which have a prop fizz on them, which basically just tells you, I think the main one is item spawn. So if I go to one of the counters. Oh, you know what? These are defined at runtime, I think. When the prop is made. I think that's how it works. I believe. And there's a lot of stuff in these two that aren't even in the project that I had planned and just weren't done yet, like prop tags. I don't even remember what those are for, honestly, but I do know it was one of the next things I was implementing. So that's the props, and I don't know if there's really much else to talk about besides that. The level generation is kind of convoluted, and again, not very well optimized, but it does work. So we can just go in now and walk around a little bit and shoot some creatures. I guess first we can generate some levels in the editor just so you can see a little better of what's happening. And also there's some other options like forcing what room the player starts in. This wouldn't be in the game because you would dock it to you would dock onto a ship and you would start in the hangar wherever you dock to. So we can just sit here and we can generate some levels and you'll see all the different sizes, all the different props and how they're placed. Like these ones are very cramped. Oh, there's a, I forgot. The other day I was curious because I've been watching Alien Romulus a lot. I was like, what if I throw a xenomorph model in here with no animations? It does not look very good, but it kind of made it a little creepier. This is a xenomorph model from an Alien game from Xbox, I think. I don't even remember. I found it on some website because I didn't want to model a xenomorph. I have before, but that's for another day, another video. So yeah, you can kind of see all the props, how they're all cluttered together, and you can see the different spawn zones. So for example, you notice on any of these storage rooms, is there another one? Yeah, this one's not very populated. These shelves can only spawn on the outside, and these little green crates can spawn anywhere. So they can spawn in the outskirts, the center, whatever. And I think those are probably the only two rooms in this one related to the storage. And you can kind of see with the lab how well I would say this works and how crammed all of it is, which kind of would just depend on the ship and stuff and what variables are set. You can see all the loot that's spawning on these shelves anywhere in the position. And I don't know, there might be some overlap issues too. I'm not too sure. I don't know if I ever dealt with that. And that's also an issue where the player could spawn with an alien in the room, which is not good. But yeah, you can see all the loot and stuff. Go ahead and generate another one. Let's look around here. So we have some more storage stuff. That guy spawned in a box. That's unlucky. A really long storage room with some more crates. I think these ones also only spawn on the outside, but the little green ones can spawn anywhere. Go to the lab. We got a bigger lab this time, and you can see it has 4 containment units and some more stuff. I really like the lab. See this? Oh, this is a really complicated level. Tiny lab. I really like the labs that are big and have a lot of stuff in them, especially in the center. Let's see if we can get one of those. I had one when you, like the first one you saw when I opened the project was a seed like that, but I cleared it. Here's one with 5 of them, but there's not anything in the center, which is what I want. There's another big one. Smaller one. Something else too is another reason why there's not storage rooms in all of these rooms that don't have a type just for like testing is because I wanted to make sure that the amount of rooms per level are working. So I think there couldn't be more than like 3 storage rooms maybe or something like that. There's a count. So I want to make sure it was working. But realistically for actual testing, I would just make all of these storage rooms so they would all have props. Come on, I don't want to sit here all day doing this. Give me a good one. That one was pretty cool. Another big one. Ooh, this one's really crammed. That's a very small lab. Okay, perfect. Here we go. That's exactly what I wanted. I'm going to turn off generate in place so we don't generate it when we play. And it looks like I'm spawning with 2 aliens in here, which is not very good. But I like rooms like this, and you'll see when I play why. It really gives you a feel for what the actual game would be like. So let's go ahead and play. And hopefully this isn't too loud. I don't remember. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna crouch and hide. This is very loud. Hide so they can't see me. So you can just kind of get a feel for what's going on. A lot of the stuff from the original video is in here. Oh, is the nav mesh broken on this generation? That might suck if it is. No, they're moving. You can see, hold down tab, I have all the same stuff, daily look research. I actually turned that off. Inventory. So I guess we can stand up now and we can fight them. Oh, he saw me. And, oh, he's not dead yet. Because I just threw this in here, there's no animation, so he kind of just stands still. But let's go ahead and, well, the same flashlights from the original video also, and take some of these items. Oh my god. Did your nav mesh just walk through the door? He dead? Yeah, the ragdoll does not work. That's a mesh collider. But let's just run around a little bit. Something else too is there's a room ambience setup, a system for it. So I hear one. You can hear right now all the ambience in the room, and the second I go out, it's gone. And so the second you get out into these hallways, it's really eerie. Very eerie. Another little thing I want to show off, which is not significant at all and wasn't hard to make, but that door is open. There's somebody there. I want to show off what I call closets. We moved. This way. He did. I mean, he's not walking towards me, so I think he is. Anyways, let's walk around here. They're in hallways. If we can find a closet. Oh! Oh, you guys, the guys that's not working? Yep, my bad, guys. This guy's working, though. He doesn't hear me. Oh, there's a closet, the yellow light. Yeah, the nav mesh is definitely broken on this level. Okay, so this is a closet. Basically... We're gonna die. Okay, no, I think this is a classic case of the editor getting one error and breaking everything else. So all this is basically each hallway has a chance to spawn a closet. This is just what I called them, but this was just a proof of concept for different sorts of variations for hallways. It can spawn little rooms off to the side, and this is the whole room in of itself. It's like an actual quote-unquote room based off the hallway, but in my testing, it's just a closet with a little yellow light and a buzzing sound. But I kind of theorized these would be like electrical closets or janitor closets or storage rooms, just random stuff like that, or ventilation access. Can you get out of the way, please? Walk around a little more here. Maybe we'll go for another level. Oh, here's a storage room. We'll go for another level because this one is broken. Oh wait, it's not going to generate a level. I have to turn that setting on. Hold on. Hold on. Let's just go in blind. Let's see what it generates. Okay, well, we spawn with 2 aliens in a pretty big laboratory. I don't know if he's coming this way or not. Can't see me right now. Oh god. And you know, if you play this seriously, like it's an actual game with gameplay and you're like there's stuff on the line, it's pretty scary. I mean, I'm sure adding xenomorphs helps. Hey man. He doesn't see me. He can't hear me. Hello? Okay. The light detection system is not working too well. I think it has to do with the xenomorph model and the mesh collider. I think it's blocking the raycasts that are supposed to check for the light. Oh. Come in. Or not, just walk away. Oh, he's down there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's not much else here. But I did want to make this video and kind of showcase some of the other tech that I added. and all the mechanics and stuff. I'm still actively working. I'm dead. Active in my terms, meaning whenever I'm not burnt out on game dev, I'll come back to it and mess around with it. But I haven't really done with much with it recently. And I actually was making it a multiplayer, which I got pretty far with, but it was way harder in multiplayer. And I also remade the whole level system in Godot when I was trying to go Godot. And then I was like, man, I don't like Godot. But that's it. If you made it this far, good on you. You probably made it this far because it's interesting to you more than it's a good video. But that's okay, because this is just very simple. And I wanted to show what I had done since then, because I didn't. And I deleted all the footage for the devlog, which I really wish I didn't. But on the bright side, a few screenshots and one really low quality Facebook video. So that's it. I'll see you guys again in 6 months from now. Mark your calendar and I'll return. Promise. And yeah, if you're here, go subscribe to my my gaming channel. It's just Mike Angelo. You can search it up. It'll probably come up right alongside this channel. But that's where I'm actually posting. So if you want to see me more. But that's it. So yeah, I'll see you guys in 6 months.